Hello, everybody. I wanted to show you how to submit your work for Project One. I'm really sorry about my voice. This is the absolute best I can do, and this is the only day I have time to do this, so I can't really wait until I'm better. So please bear with me. Um, okay, I want to explain to you something. I've had a lot of difficulty in these online arts classes with finding ways for my students to submit their artwork to me. There's two things that we need to do. One is we need to have a critique, which is where you can put your work online and everybody can see it, and then you guys can make comments on it. And that is why I'm having you put one version of your work on the discussion board. However, that is not the complete working file. That's just a save for web file, and I'm going to show you how to do that. Don't worry. I need to be able to see your Adobe Illustrator file and with all its layers and all of that. And this has just been kind of an ongoing problem, how to do this remotely with online students. Something new this semester that may or may not work, and we're going to try it on Project One and see. They recently upgraded us to 50 gigabytes of storage space on our faculty email, which is still nowhere near enough. 50 megabytes is nothing. I mean, I could have one Photoshop file could take up that much space. But I thought that the Illustrator files aren't that big, and so I thought at least for these I could see if I could try to have you email these to me. Okay, this might not work. This might be the only time we do this, but we're going to give it a try. Now, I have some very, very specific instructions. Whenever you hand work in to me, it is very important that you follow my instructions to the letter. If you think about it from my end, where I've got all these students that I'm trying to manage and all these different assignments that are coming in, if things are not uniform, then they fall through the cracks. And then I have difficulty scrambling to find something. So I have to have things exactly how I want them so that I can put them exactly where I want them. Blackboard is already time consuming enough, and any little extra steps that I have to do when somebody doesn't follow instructions, they really add up to costing me a lot of time. And so I've kind of gotten to the point where if people don't follow my instructions on how I want you to hand things in, I just won't accept it. Okay, so I've made you a nice little step-by-step sheet, which, by the way, you can find in one of three places. You can find it either in the assignment in your assignments folder, you can find it in the instructions on discussion, or you can find it in the instructions in your week 2 vector art folder as well. So I'm trying to make these things as accessible as possible. Okay, so I've created this PDF called To Submit Your Work. You submit your files to me in this class two ways, one for critique on the discussion board and one for grading via emailed folder. Okay, first off, the folder, and I'm just going to highlight this right here. I've created a folder on my desktop to show you what I want it to look like. You're going to create a new folder, and I need you to name it exactly as I specified, with your first initial and your last name, not my first initial, last name, yours, and then 01, because this is Project 01. And that's how we're going to label everything in this class. Your folders and your files are going to all be uniformly named. If it's Project 1, it'll be 02, 03, 04, so that they'll fall into a neat little line for me. Okay, so there will be nothing in this folder except your Illustrator file and one other file that I'm going to show you how to make in just a second. Okay, so name the file, first initial, last name, and the number 01, not just one, but a 01, okay? Then let's prepare first of all, we're going to prepare our Illustrator file for discussion for the discussion board and also just for submission. So there's a couple of things that are pretty important. I'm going to open my layers palette right here. Where is my layers palette? It went away. Oh, here it is. Okay, I want to make sure that you have deleted any layers you're not using, like, for example, this layer of swatches that I had created the other day. These are unnecessary. I'm going to throw them away, okay? If there are any layers that you created that don't have anything on them, that you don't need, you need to get rid of them. And you need to do that with all of your files. And you need to do that for yourself as well as for me. It keeps things nice and neat and organized. I want to make sure that the photograph, the original photograph that you started out with, is in the bottom layer, but I want to be turned invisible. Okay, so you've got, see, the little eyeball is turned off. Okay. Let's see, what is the next thing I want you to do? Okay, I want you to save the file to the folder, which I've already done, but, you know, just in case, it's File, you know, Save As. I know you guys know how to do this. Name it the exact same way, you know, first initial, last name, and 01, and save it right to that folder, right? Okay, and I'm not going to do it because I've already done it. Okay. Now, what we're going to do is we cannot put an Adobe Illustrator file on the discussion board. We can't put anything that's not web-friendly in Blackboard. It only accepts a few types of files, you know, like JPEGs, GIFs, PNGs, PDFs, that kind of thing. So we're going to convert this into a web-friendly version that'll load up very, very quickly onto the discussion board for us, okay? So here's what we do, and I've got it all spelled out in the instructions for you, which you're going to follow step by step, okay? You go to File, Export, Save for Web, and you click that. And don't worry about what it looks like. It's probably going to look weird. You can see I've got this little checkerboard pattern back in the background, the reason being that it's going to save it as a GIF file, and GIF does not fill in any white pixels where it's transparent. So where you see the checkerboard, that just means it's a transparent background. That does not show on the final product. So it does look a little bit weird, but just, you know, try to ignore it. Don't worry about any of this stuff. Just click Save. And again, it's going to, you know, ask you, do you want to keep it saved as the same name? Yes, I do. Images only, I think that's the only option you have. And by default, it was going to send it right over to that same folder. So I'm going to just save it, and there we go. And now, if you look in my folder, there we have it. I've got 2 files. This one looks a little creepy on my preview because you can see the gray background is showing through the transparent areas. Because all this white stuff is not really there. Remember, that's just the artboard. And so this way, if I needed to place this on top of a colored background or something in another document, I'd be able to do that very easily. It's also a very small file. Look at this, 59 kilobytes, tiny. You know, your Illustrator file, which isn't all that big considering what your Photoshop files are going to be, 3.1 megabytes, okay? And we need to keep our eye on this. File size is crucial. And I really don't know how this is going to go for Photoshop. I kind of think it's not going to work for the email, but I know I can do it to work for Illustrator, I think. Okay. So anyhow, I've got it saved for the web. right? Now, I'm going to set my Illustrator aside for now, and I'm going to go back to the class, and I'm going to go to our discussion. And I do not like the way the discussions look. This business about having this long, skinny column is absolutely not how it is supposed to look at all. It's some weird formatting stuff happened and they are trying to fix it, but it's making it very difficult, I'm sure, for you to follow. It's making it very, very difficult for me because it's very easy to get confused when I have to scroll this far. You know, this stuff should be spread out, but I'm very picky about format. I think anybody who does design would be. Okay, so scroll and scroll and scroll until you get to project one, the vector project. And see, I've even given you the instructions. Here's one of the 3 places that I have provided instructions for not only the assignment, but how to submit the assignment, okay? And and I've got more instructions right here on how to turn your assignment in, okay? So all kinds of stuff. I know it sounds like a lot now, but once we've done it the first time, it'll be nice and smooth. Okay, click on this. And here's the scary, empty nothingness that we were talking about the other day. Oh my God, what do I do? Because the instructions are not, not showing up until I click Create Thread, which I don't know I'm supposed to do because the instructions aren't there. But I let you know, click on Create Thread. There we go. Here's our instructions. Wow. Okay. And then just enter your name or whatever. I'm going to call this sample. And I actually had a prepared statement already written. So remember that I'm asking you to write a 250-word statement, just kind of explaining some things, and that's all detailed in your instructions. And I think this is probably a good idea for you guys as well. Anything that you're going to be typing into a message box in Blackboard, I would recommend saving it off onto a notepad or, you know, a Word document or something so that you can, you know, copy and paste it in there. Just because, you know, as we all know, Blackboard is a little difficult to work with at times. I always have to have the screen nice and big so I can see it. And I've kind of given you guys the riot act up here about what I want you to do. I want you to place your picture in the message box. I don't want you to attach it. I don't want you to use the paper clip, and I don't want you to attach it outside. Okay, I don't want you to use this. No, no, no. Do not use this. Do not use this. Use this, the little picture icon, okay? So we can see your picture and your words all together. Here I'm just expanding it because I don't like to work in little tiny windows, okay? So I'm going to, if you hit your return key, it'll take you down to the next row, and then you won't have weird formatting on your text. Click the little picture of the picture. And browse your computer for that GIF file that you just created, which is conveniently located in your folder right here. Ta-da! Just choose it. Okay, now it's going to come out pretty big. It probably will come out pretty big, and we don't want it that big on Blackboard, so here's what I want you to do. Click the Appearance tab, and whatever it has for the dimensions here, whichever is the longer of the 2 sides, in my case, since I turned it horizontally, it would be the first one. I'm going to ask you to enter 350, okay? If yours is a vertical orientation, you would enter 350 on this side. Don't enter anything in the other box. It will take care of that all on its own. So it's going to, you know, size it just how it'll fit nice and neat in there. Tell it to insert. It's going to give you this little, hey, what, you're just like, I don't care, just whatever. Okay, and there it is. So now I've got my text and I can see my picture all at the same time. It's very, very important to me when I'm looking at anything, any artwork and words about artwork, that I see the artwork and the word at the same time. If I have to open an attachment, that means I have to leave Blackboard. I might have to launch some other software. I might have to wait for something to load. Every little tiny step that it has to take interrupts my workflow. And every little extra step that interrupts my workflow distracts me from, what the task at hand, and anybody else who's supposed to be looking at your work. And so you want to make this easy as possible on me and on your fellow students. They need to see the text and the picture all at the same time, okay? So I'm just going to, and your statement needs to be 250 words. Mine's only 100, but I'm the teacher, so, that's how that works. Okay. Here's another thing I do, just because I'm a little bit paranoid. I've been using Blackboard for a long time. Well, it's not going to really help to copy that picture, but I just copy everything. Let's pretend like I didn't already copy that off my notebook. I'll just copy everything in a window before I hit submit, just in case it timed out on me. In fact, I think I can copy the picture too and still have it work in Blackboard. So just in case I've got this, on my clipboard, in case Blackboard freaks out or something, I can open up a new screen and just paste it. I've learned that from experience. Click submit. And there is my sample post. Okay, so you guys will see that. And I noticed you already have entered some things for the introduction, so I know you guys have already figured out how to use the discussion board. And then, of course, to read somebody's post, you would just click that. And then to reply, you would, of course, click reply. And I think you guys already know how to do that as well. Okay, so that takes care of that portion of it. Now that's just a little tiny, 56 kilobyte picture of, this really nice file that you've worked really hard on. This is something, because remember the screen, anything that you're going to put on the web, it can't. The screen cannot register anything more than 72 pixels per inch anyway. But your files are going to be much more, large and dense most of the time, because we're, kind of going to assume that these are going to be printed at some time. And you always want to have really good quality with prints. And of course, this doesn't matter so much with a vector file, but I digress. Okay, so we're done with posting that on the discussion board. Now you just check back and wait and see if anybody made a response to your picture, or you look at your colleagues and go, oh, wow, that's really cool. Okay, and let's go back to the Illustrator file, which we're going to submit for grading, and along with the folder. Whoops. Okay, I need to get this out of the way. I'm trying to keep my instructions visible because I want to make sure that everybody reads them. Okay, so I've already deleted all my unnecessary layers, but we just want to, double check our file before we turn it in. I had shown you in the last video that I posted in the demos how to use the eraser tool to trim off any excessive, shapes that were sticking out over the edge of your document. Think about, this is you're a graphic designer in this class. You're a professional. I'm your client. You would not present your client with anything less than top-notch work, right? You don't want to present yourself with anything sloppy, because that's going to leave a bad impression on you. So, we're going to kind of pretend like we're professionals in this class. Okay, so I made a little checklist. Are your layers, unnecessary layers, deleted? Have you trimmed everything? Do you have the photo file intact but invisible? Check your folder. Are your contents exactly as I asked? So your folder should contain exactly 2 files. And this will vary from project to project because it just depends on the nature of the assignment. You may have a PowerPoint in there, you may have a Photoshop, you may have a Photoshop and an Adobe Illustrator. I may ask you for a PDF. So whatever I ask you for in the instructions, that will need to be in your folder and nothing more, okay? It just so happens this only has 2 things in it this time around, okay? Check the file size. We're going to actually compress this file since we're going to send it through the email, not Blackboard email. I need to make that very, very clear. Do not email this to me in Blackboard. I'm going to repeat that. Do not send this to me through Blackboard. Send it to me at this address. This is where I have that whopping huge 50 gigabytes of space, as if that's a lot of space, which it's not. And I'm making sure they know about that as well. And they're tired of hearing it from me, but not so tired as to do anything about it yet. Please do not try to send me anything through the Blackboard email that's large. It will just cause problems for everyone, okay? So when I ask you to email this folder to me, you're going to email it to me, okay? Not in the class. But first, let's compress it. I don't know how to do this in a PC, but I'm sure you can figure that out. If you're on a Mac, in your Finder, file, compress, and there it turns it into a zip file. There you go. And I think I'm going to check my file size. I think it came out to about 3 megabytes or something. On the Mac, it's file get info. Let me just see what it says. Yeah. It's 3 megabytes, but they're compressed, and so I think they'll go through the email pretty easily. Maybe. We shall see, okay? Compress your folder, and what I'm hoping, because of the nature of STC emails, let's not make it any bigger than 5 megabytes, if at all possible, okay? This is an experiment. This might work and it might not, okay? But that's what I would like you to do so that way I can get your information. And I've got a phone call, so I'm going to let you go. Bye.